Hey, and welcome back to the channel. We are talking about all the tools that you can use to manage your own anxiety. Some of them are natural, some of them are recommendations. All of them you should at least try because it's up to you to find something that works for you. Not everything is going to work for you, but you're not going to know until you try. So we're talking about books to help you through anxiety. And this is a hard one because sometimes when you learn about something, it can give you more anxiety. And so filling your mind with too many things about anxiety can actually perpetuate the cycle of you thinking about your anxiety all of the time. Sometimes learning about anxiety and why it happens and what to do about it can help soothe. So it's really about how you're feeling and up to you and how you're managing your energy. If you have space and capacity and curiosity for what the heck is going on in your psyche from a biological standpoint and maybe a neuro standpoint, then this might be something that would benefit from you. If just listening to the idea of reading a book on anxiety is giving you anxiety, maybe skip this one and go to something else that's more somatic. So when we talk about somatic, we talk about what's in the body, and we talk about cognitive, we talk about what's in the mind, what's in the brain. And you need both. You need to know what's going on for you, and you need to know how to manage and feel it in your body. Lots of videos on the YouTube channel already about managing it and feeling it in your body, from tapping to shaking and breath work. This one's a little more cognitive about how you can arm yourself with the information that you need to understand what's happening for your body and your mind with anxiety. So we're going to cover my favorite books on anxiety. And this is the nonfiction category. I will do a fiction category and maybe even a memoirs category later, but right now we're doing nonfiction. What I want to do is give you a little overview of the book, why I like it, a couple of really good quotes, and then I'll put the links in the description below for where to find those things. So let's start with one of my favorite books that I've read in the last couple years. It's called Civilized to Death, and the author is Christopher Ryan. This book is mind-blowing. It is very, very cognitive. It's a lot of big words, a lot of big concepts, but the general feeling that I had when I read this book was, oh, yes, this is why I'm anxious. This is why. This is why. Everyone should know about this. God, I wish I would have known this before. And the reason why I felt like that is because it talks about how our brains are struggling to keep up with post-industrial revolution and the demand that we have with all kinds of things, but specifically some of these technology advances like cell phones and social media. And it also talks about it from a very psychosocial aspect of history and also a neuroscience aspect of like brain chemistry. So I really liked this book because it just made so much sense to me, and it gave me this sense of like, it's not all my fault. This is a product of my environment, and I have control and power over my environment. So here's what I want to do. So it gave me this feeling of empowerment. Here are the two quotes that I think you might like that sum up the feeling of this book. You ready for them? Okay, the first one. We rush into novelty, driven by insufficiency, dissatisfaction, and restlessness. We no longer live on what we have, but on promises no longer in the light of present day, but in the darkness of the future, which we expect will at last bring a proper sunrise. It's even hard to say out loud, but reading it really gave me an awakening moment of, oh, that's absolutely true. This is exactly how I'm feeling. And the other quote is, man is an animal suspended in a web of significance that he himself has spun. Man is an animal suspended in significance that he himself has spun. It's just all in my head. I'm always making significance out of something. I'm making meaning out of something, and here's why. So the book is very heady, it's very cognitive, but it is full of aha moments, especially for those people that are highly intellectual and really want a challenging read. That's my first one. Number 2 on my list for books to read to understand your anxiety is Unwinding Anxiety by Judd and Brewer. I actually had the pleasure of working with him on projects when I was working with a company called ShareCare for a mindfulness-based health coaching company. And he has this beautiful book on habits and the neuroscience behind habits, especially the ones on worry. When we choose worry, it's a habit. And so he talks through in this book exactly how to break the habit of worrying and how that feels. And it's very relatable. So it's kind of cognitive, but it's also very practical and very easy to understand and also very easy to put into practice. Here are a couple quotes from that book. Watch your thoughts. They become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Wow. So it starts off with thoughts. So whatever we're thinking translates to what we're saying. When we say it, we're more likely to do it. And then when we do it over time, it becomes a habit. And then those habits become who we are. And so it starts with our thoughts. The other quote that I really liked by this book is, notice how fear itself does not equal anxiety. And this is what I've been saying. Fear itself does not equal anxiety. Fear is an adaptive learning mechanism that helps us survive. Yes, we need fear. Anxiety, on the other hand, is maladaptive. Our thinking and planning brains spin out of control when it doesn't have enough information. Okay. Our thinking and planning brains spin out of control when they don't have enough information. So it's really just managing the discomfort of the unknown that causes anxiety. And especially if you layer that with that feeling of I can't. If it's like, I don't know what's going to happen and I'm just not really sure that I can handle it if it comes up, that's anxiety. So in this book, it really teaches you how to reprocess those thought patterns so that they become less actions of anxiety. All right, number 3 on the list is Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. He is a lot more in the neuroscience and hypnosis area of anxiety. And it's very similar to the last 2 books on why you should really sit with your thoughts and what's important about that, but it's from a different lens. It's more like spiritual and new age. So if you're really interested in the spiritual and new age and manifesting your own reality, this is the neuroscience of how to do that. Here are a couple of quotes from the Joe Dispenza book. The only way we can change our lives is to change our energy. Right? The energy of attachment. If I'm really holding on to this, it's probably anxious. So the only way we can change our lives is to change our energy. To change the electromagnetic field we are constantly broadcasting. Okay, so that's a different feeling of energy. In other words, to change our state of being, we have to change how we think and how we feel. Yeah, a little more new agey idea of what it is to think and feel in terms of it being an energy or an electromagnetic field of broadcasting, which is kind of cool. And then he goes on to say, so your thoughts drive your feelings, and your feelings drive your thoughts. And eventually this loop hardwires into your brain into the same patterns, which conditions your body into the past, because this has already happened. And because our emotions are a record of our past, if you can't think greater than how you feel, this thinking feeling loop keeps you anchored into your past and creates a constant state of being. This is how the body becomes the mind, or, in time, how your thoughts run you and your feelings own you. Cool. So this book is about how to step out of that thought loop and choose and create new thoughts for yourself so that you become something completely different in the future, not rooted in what you've done in the past. And that's how I become supernatural. My last book on this list of books to read, cognitive books, intellectual books to read for anxiety is Brene Brown's new book, Atlas of the Heart. And the whole book really is about feelings and thoughts and what to do with them. And that's really great. But this one specific section here about anxiety is really good. And it just hits home these ideas and concepts that we already know, that we've already covered here on the channel. So here's a quote from that book. We feel stress when our thinking brain says, this environment demand is beyond my ability to cope. So we feel stress, and then we create meaning on that stress. This environmental demand is more or greater than my ability to cope. And that feeling of judgment is actually the anxiety. Remember that. Anxiety is an escalating loss of control and total uncertainty. Again, it's back to that idea of managing and tolerating your feelings of the unknown. And instead of meeting the unknown with a feeling of, I don't think I can do this, meet the unknown with a feeling of, I am capable, I am ready, I am curious. So all of those books have the same kind of idea of how to manage and tolerate feelings, understand them first with awareness, dig them up, and then what to do with them afterwards. Any of those books will kind of get you to that point. Okay, I have a bonus pick for you. My last favorite, not so cognitive book about anxiety is actually a nonfiction, written by Doc Amon, and it's called Captain Snout and the Superpower Questions. And this is, it's written like a children's book, and it's got all of these illustrations. It's beautifully illustrated like a children's book, but it is for any age. And I was gifted it when I was going through anxiety. It was really helpful for me, and I have gifted it myself to a lot of people because it's just so accessible. The short of it is that we have ants, or automatic thoughts, and our automatic thoughts take the shape of a couple different specific types of thought patterns that Dr. Amon in this book goes through. It doesn't matter what those are. The questions that you use to combat these runaway, racing, or otherwise just worrying thoughts there's two questions. One is this true? Is this true? And the second question is this 100% true? And those are the superpower questions. So if you start to notice that you are having these runaway racing thoughts and you just can't get in front of them, ask yourself, is this true? Is this 100% true? And if it's not 100% true, it's worth slowing down on and unpacking and maybe just challenging. So if you want to join me on this journey towards reducing your anxiety by learning about anxiety and how it works and where it comes from, these are the books that I would recommend. And if you do read these, let me know in the comments below how they've helped you. And if I've missed anything, if there's a book that you really would recommend for someone going through anxiety, I'd love to hear about it. Also put that in the comments below. And if this has been helpful for you, if you feel inspired to go take power back for your health and your well-being, like and share and comment, subscribe, help me help other people, and stay tuned for the next video on this playlist. It's going to be another tool on how to manage your own anxiety, and I'll talk to you then.